Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. I have a couple of notes to make here before we begin. First of all, we will be shortening the kind of skirt area here. So if it looks a little long, don't worry, we're going to take care of that. Second note is that this is an advanced level project. We're going to have some tight areas with lots of looping to do and lots of thickness. So if this is too much of a challenge for you, you can always go to my Sub-Zero video and change the colors around on that, and that one's a little bit easier. Our third note, or last note for the moment, is just that I do have some videos I'm wanting to make based on requests that you've given me, and I'm waiting on some bands, so please be patient. I will get to them as soon as I can. We're going to do some of this on the loom, some on the hook, and I have already done one arm and one leg, so I'll be making one of each with you and getting you to pause. You're going to need yellow bands, black bands, skin tone bands, a couple of hooks, your loom in the offset configuration, and a C-clip for the end. So let's start by making an arm, and we're going to use the loom for this, although it can be done on the hook. We will begin by placing down 2 black bands from the top right to the second on the right. Come down one more time on the right side with double bands. This is all black. And then come from your second side peg to your third peg in the center. Now we are going to skip a space here, skip a peg, and you're going to place 3 skin tone bands from the 4th peg to the 5th, another 3 from the 5th to the 6th, and 3 skin tone from the 6th to the 7th. So you've done 3 sets of 3 bands. We switch to black and we get 4 black bands. I'm going to pull some that are already a little bit stretchy because they will get bent in the process, and yeah, it's all good. Okay, 4 black bands and 4 black bands again. And 4 black bands one more time. Now we're going to take 2 black bands, hold them together, put them on that last peg that you've used, and wrap them together 3 times, 2 or 3 times. We will loop up this first section. So get your hook, come underneath your holding band, take your 4 black bands and loop them up over to the peg above. We're going to keep going up till we reach the end of the skin tone. Now you can always grab 2 bands at a time or 1 band at a time if it's getting hard for you to work with here. You're going to pull this off the loom, but keep the skin tones on your hook. And you will see 6 skin tone bands on your hook. 3 are going to go onto this black band, this peg on the 3rd center, and 3 will go onto the 3rd peg on the right side. This is going to give us our muscly look. Okay, now we get under the skin tone in the center, loop it inwards, loop the blacks, get your bottom 2 blacks on the right side, loop up, and go one more time, get your last 2 blacks, loop them up, remove from the loom. Okay, so this can sit on a holding hook for the moment, and you're going to pause and make 1 more. And then you can come back and we will make our legs. For our legs, we can do this on the loom as well, although, as I say, it can be done on the hook. But we're going to take 2 black bands and come from the top right to the second on the right again. And then we need 2 sets of 4 black bands each. So take 4 bring them from your second peg to your third peg on the side, and repeat that one more time just below. Now we need 2 sets of 4 yellow bands. So 4 bands coming down once from your 4th peg to your 5th, and one more time from the 5th peg to the 6th. Now we're going to do 3 yellow bands and come down once, and 2 yellow bands together once. And we're going to make the next part on our hook. This will be for the bottom of the boot. We're using Kate Schultz's boot design here. Take 2 black bands, loop them 1, 2, 3 times on your hook. Pull them onto double black bands, but keep the other side off. Grab the hook with your thumb and left forefinger, pointer finger. And with your right hand, you take 2 more blacks, loop them twice around so it sits in the middle. Put your other end back and pull these all onto 2 more black bands. Get it as even as you can, and then you're going to take a single black, stretch it, twist it, fold it over, and pull through. This will go onto the bottom yellow bands on your loom here. It's your 8th peg down. And we are just going to loop this straight up. Pull your foot to the side, get underneath and loop up those first yellow bands. I'm actually going to flip this way, I think. There. And just check that you're getting all the bands each time that you go. If there are a lot, it's going to be thick. And you might even want to hold down some of your bands as you're moving here. You can see as I'm going, some of these are popping right off the loom, like here. But we've already looped this part, it's all secure, so that's okay. And last 2, take it off the loom, put it on a holding hook or just on the side, or you can leave it on the hook it's on now. And you're going to make a second one and come back so we can start on our side extensions in the body. Okay, let's get those side extensions ready. See if I can find one more hook here. This will do. We're going to need some yellow bands. We're going to start with 1 band, wrap it once, pull it onto 1 more band, pull it onto 2 bands, onto 3, and onto 4, and one last time it goes onto 2 yellow bands. So I'm going to do it one more time with you, and we'll make sure we've got all the right numbers. This, as I say, can stay in your hook, or it can go on another hook or on the side. I'm just going to put it onto this one here. So we did a single wrapped once, and you get 2 loops, hold on to a single, hold on to 2 bands, and then onto 3 bands, onto 4, and onto 2. So it goes 1 onto 1, onto 2, onto 3, onto 4, onto 2, one last time. Okay, and this can go on your hook as well, or on the side, wherever. And we are ready to start on the body. We're going to do the head last, and you will be so excited when we get to the head part because it's the easiest of all of it. But let's begin by doing our neck. And we want our neck to be really thick and strong and sturdy looking. So we are going to take 5 bands and bring them from the top center peg to the second peg on the center. We'll follow that with 4 black bands from the second peg to the third peg coming down. And now we're going to come down 2 times with double black bands. So 2 bands there, 2 bands here. On our side, we'll take 2 bands black and come from the second side to the second center and repeat for the right side. And we switch to yellow and come down twice with double yellow bands. And just before we go on, you can take your arms and place them on your second pegs down on either side. We'll get those out of the way. Okay, we need 1 set of double black on either side from the 4th peg to the 5th peg coming down. And in the middle, let me just check my notes here because this isn't looking the way I remember it here. Give me 1 second. Okay, we've got 4 sets of 2. So the center we're going to come down 2 more times with double black bands. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. And now you can come from the side with double yellow, 4th peg on the side to the 6th peg in the middle. So we are skipping over a piece there. And you'll do the same from the 4th right to the 5th middle. Push them down firmly, but try not to get them overlapping each other. We are going to work on the lower part now a little bit, and then we'll come up and fill things out. So this next section is going to be what you see here. But as I said, we're going to do it just a little bit shorter. So we need to take 2 yellow bands and come from the 6th center peg, or the last one that we used, down to the 6th peg on the side. And we'll do the same to the left side. And we're going to come down 5 times in the middle using double yellow bands. Again, try to be very careful not to overlap on this top center peg because it's going to get even more busy later. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want it longer, feel free to continue, but I'm going to stop it there this time. And on the side, we're going to use black bands and come down 1, 2, 3 times with double yellow, double black, I mean. What am I saying? Of course, these are yellow as well. We're going to do the middle section first. I'm looking at 2 separate charts here. 2, 3, and 1 more on the side. It's 4. And on our other side, actually we only need 3 times because we're going to stretch this last one to the middle. It gives it more of the pointy look. Just be careful again that your bands are staying neatly on top of each other. Really important in this pattern. Okay, come down 3 times with double bands on the side. and get those to meet in the center as well. This is coming to your third peg from the bottom of the loom. We take a single yellow band and wrap it 3 times around that same peg where we just finished. If it's too tight, you can do it just 2. You're going to take some yellow bands, double them over, and we're going to make a diamond over these 4 pegs. So those are the 4th and 5th pegs from the bottom on the middle, the 5th pegs from the bottom on the side. And we need 2 doubled over singles to act as triangle holding bands above that. Let's grab our trusty hook, and we're going to loop up just the yellow section, but do not take any of it off of the loom just yet. This is very important. So you're going to go under your capping band at the bottom, find your top 2 yellow bands, and bring them to the right side, back to the peg that they came from. Find your next 2 and bring them up to the left. And the last 2, pull them up and over to the peg above. Now we're going to loop up the sides. You're going for the bottom 2 yellow bands. There shouldn't be a lot in your way, but you will have those triangle holding bands that you need to make sure are pushed back when you loop up. And loop inwards 1 time. Try to do it as neatly as you can, and repeat this all for the right side. You can see I'm holding the loom down and tight here. We don't want, the last thing we want is for our rows, our pegs to start popping up or things to get loose. Come inside that second one from the bottom, carefully loop up the 2, again stay inside the holding bands. And push down a little bit. Now we are going to remove some of this, but the center is going to stay where it is. So pull your side pieces carefully over, just on the yellow section, and leave the middle where it is. Otherwise it's going to get a lot harder for you after. We need to put on some holding bands on the top. We'll do that next, I think. We're just going to use single bands and create triangles coming from over our 3rd pegs, over the 4th pegs going across, and we will need to take, we'll do a tiny bit more here first, but let's get our side extensions on for the uppery muscly yellow vest part. I've lost one of my bands, give me 1 second here. Sometimes that happens, something slips out on you. Okay. You're going to take the 2 bands that are on your hook, and you'll see 4 loops, and they're going to go onto the second peg down where you see your arm. Push it down very surely, and you're going to put your hook through the 2 bands underneath that, and you're going to skip a peg and place these on your 4th peg down on the side. Try and grab a piece out of the top chain here, the top piece, and place it over the 3rd peg, and you can do that again for the peg underneath if you can find it here. This will just keep it sort of up here instead of flopping down at the side. And we're going to take our other chain, place that on the opposite side. So the ones that are on the hook go onto the 2nd peg down. You'll find the bottom loops, skip a peg, place these on the 4th peg on the side, and pull a section out of each chain, each of the top 2 chains, to get them to sit close. If you're having trouble getting that exactly, don't worry, I'm sure it should still be fine, but this I find makes it hold a little firmer. On either side, we're going to come down using black bands, and we're going to come down 3 times, 4 times, and 1 more time. On the right side, we'll come down once, twice, 3, 4, and 5. We can add our legs on either side at the bottom, so they are going on the 4th peg from the bottom of the loom. And if you can, try and angle them a little bit here. I'm just gonna let, I think I'm just gonna let mine, no, this is gonna bother me. I'm gonna switch these around so that they're each facing the opposite direction. So I took the bands off, and we're gonna put them back on the hook and press it on from the other side. Or you can leave it on the hook and flip your hook over. Whew, there, got it. Okay, so we need 2 yellow bands. We're going to make this little belt part. If you don't want it, you don't have to have it. If you do want it, you're going to go to your 6th peg down in the center where all of those bands are. Push it down, put 2 bands on that peg and bring them to the 5th peg on the side, and put another 2 on to go to the left side. Push it down and put a capping band on that center piece. You want it tight enough that it won't pop out, but not too tight. So I'm going to do 3 wraps here. And we want our inner part to sort of sit with the body. We aren't going to do this last connecting piece, but we will bring the inner sash, the inner skirt section in connection with the others. So now you're going to come to your middle where you've got this yellow, and you're going to find a piece out of each section, pull it over to the side. This is just like what we do with side extensions. Now you can have a piece going over the bottom one, or you can leave this so that it's sitting loose. The first time I did it, I did take a final loop and bring it over the bottom, but you can see the yellow shows up and it doesn't give us that pointed effect that we want for Scorpion. So I'm going to leave that blank this time. I'm going to just leave that peg alone. We're going to connect the chains to the other side. And get a grip on one of these there. And now we can loop up our body. So don't get too far ahead of me, but I'll tell you the first step for us to do is to loop the legs up until the 5th peg from the top on the sides, and that's where we're going to start. So get underneath your foot, loop up, you're grabbing your bottom 2 blocks each time, and again there shouldn't really be much of anything in your way in this section. Stop when you reach the yellow. Come back on down under the right side and loop up. And this is nice because if you'll remember, our whole middle yellow section is already looped and secured, so we don't have to worry about that at all. Here's where it gets dicey. Bear with me. Pause the video if you need to. I might have to myself. We'll see how this goes. You're going to put your finger on top of this 6th peg down so that your capping band does not come off. Push back the top cap and get your first 2 bands, bring them over to the side. and I'm going to loop up once to secure those in. Now we go underneath again and find your next two. And I do apologize, this is going to take me a little while. I find this part very difficult. If you get through it faster than me or you get impatient, you can certainly jump ahead if you need to. Now we need to find our yellow bands that are coming from diagonally up from the above pegs. So get inside, pull your bands to the side, turn your loom to a different angle, whatever you need to do to find those. And I believe we are looking for the left bands first. Very carefully, it's going to be very tight. Bring them up into the side, and you can loop up one more time to secure those. Actually, I'm going to loop right up to the top, push back all of the bands except for the bottom ones, and go straight up, and then get your last two black bands. Then we'll go back to that yellow tangle and find the ones for the other side. Okay, we need these two yellows. I'm gonna turn my loom sideways, try and pull these over a little bit. And this is why I call it an advanced level. It's kind of a bother to do this part. Okay, loop up your black one time on the side. Don't miss any bands because you don't want this to come undone on you. Loop up the next two from the bottom and the next two, and bring it into the center with these last two black bands. And we're going to loop up the center the rest of the way, starting with the two black in the bottom of the middle of that yellow mucky mess. And we go straight to the top of the loom now. And just remember, your last two sets have respectively 4 and 5 bands, so check that you get them all. If you miss one, it's not terrible. You can always cut it off and it'll just be a tiny bit thinner, but the ideal is to get everything. Look at the sides, see that there isn't anything sticking out in a funny place. And just be sure that you've got everything. Looks clean. We can take it off, but you're going to keep the bands on the top on a hook. That's where they're going. And the rest of this can be carefully removed. Use this hook. Start at the top and loosen it up as you move downwards on the sides. You can take off the yellow in the middle as well. We have lots of bands here, so it will be kind of tight. And we also had a couple of doubled over bands, but those were more in the bottom section. If you see anything loose as you're pulling this off, try and catch it quickly so that you can maybe weave it in, tie it in, loop it in a little later without having to redo all this work. Okay, carefully take it off the loom. We're done the hard stuff. We just have our head, our face to do. Almost done. Okay, you're going to take 2 black bands, come from your top center to your top right, 2 from your top center to your top left, and come down once on each of your rows with double black bands. We come down once in the middle with skin tone bands, double again. And we're going to come up to either side with skin tone from our 3rd middle peg to our 2nd pegs over on the sides. Switch to yellow, come down once on each row, double bands. And one last time, come in from the center using yellow double bands from the 3rd left to the 4th center, from the 3rd right to the 4th center. We need some holding bands, so we're going to take a single yellow and create a triangle going by pulling it over our 3rd pegs on each row. And then we're going to take black band, and come over our second pegs down on each row. You can take your body now and carefully transfer all the bands on your hook onto the fourth peg down in the middle. I'm going to give you a random designing tip here. If you've got this far in a project, you've come up with a really great body idea, and you're not sure how the head's going to turn out and don't want to risk undoing everything, what you can do is put a thread through your neck piece, and that way if you have to work backwards, you can always fix it from there. And that's something I tried. Technique I used when I was putting this pattern together. So we're going to take and by my luck it actually worked out very well, but we're going to take our top two yellow bands from under the neck, pull them to the side, and bring the next two to the left side, loop up once in the middle, and then loop your skin tone bands back to the sides that they came from. And you can loop up one more time in the middle with your double skin tones. And we're going to loop up the sides, bottom two bands coming up twice, and bring in your last two diagonally to the center. And do this again on the left side. Get your bottom two yellows and bring them up and over. And loop up once more, and once to the center, and one more time up in the middle row. Grab a black band, two if you want to be doubly secure, and you're going to take your hook, put the open side away from you, push it through the bands on the top center peg, and latch it onto your single, pull it through, put your other end over, and bring one side over the other to create a slip knot. You can remove this from the loom. We're almost done. Now, last thing you need to do, only other thing, is to take your securing band and hide it in the back. So we'll pull it under a couple of black bands. You can put it on a C-clip or leave it loose if you'd like. Put it under a nearby band, and your scorpion is done. You can give everything a little tug or adjustment, lay him down, and there you go. I hope you'll check out my Sub-Zero, and I promise I'll get to the other requests just as soon as I can. Thank you for watching.